10 quotes by Jean-Paul Sartre that make you rethink what it means to be free. Freedom, to Sartre, is not a gift, it is a weight we must carry with courage. It is the recognition that every moment demands a choice, and every choice shapes who we become. Sartre believed that no one can escape freedom, because even refusing to choose is itself a choice. And with this freedom comes responsibility, an invitation to carve meaning in a world that does not provide it for us. In his philosophy, freedom is raw, demanding, and deeply human. It challenges us to confront ourselves instead of blaming fate or circumstance. It asks us to step into our power, even when the world feels uncertain. And above all, it reminds us that we are the authors of our own existence. These quotes capture the essence of that brave, unsettling, liberating truth. 1. Man is condemned to be free. Sartre's words strike with both power and discomfort. Being condemned to freedom means we cannot escape responsibility for our choices. Even when we feel trapped, we are still choosing silence, choosing fear, choosing inaction. Sartre reminds us that our freedom is inescapable, and that is what makes it heavy. But within that heaviness lies possibility, the power to rewrite our lives one decision at a time. Freedom may feel like a burden, yet it is also our greatest form of power. When we accept it, we stop waiting for life to change and start becoming the one who changes it. True liberation begins when we recognize that our choices define us far more than our circumstances. 2. Freedom is what you do with what's been done to you. This quote captures the heart of existential resilience. Life brings pain, injustice, mistakes, and limitations, none of which we choose. But Sartre argues that freedom lies in what we do next. We are not defined by what happens to us but by how we respond. Some rise, some break, some transform, the same event does not create the same destiny. Our freedom begins where blame ends. When we take ownership of our response, we reclaim power from the world and return it to ourselves. Sartre shows us that while we cannot control everything, we can always control the meaning we give to it. 3. I am my choices. In this short sentence lies an entire philosophy of identity. Sartre insists that we are not our intentions, our dreams, or our potential, we are our choices. What we choose reveals who we are at the deepest level. Every action becomes a brushstroke painting the portrait of our character. This perspective removes excuses and forces clarity. You become honest when you stop explaining your choices and start observing them. Identity is not discovered, it is built. And every moment provides another chance to choose differently, to choose better, to choose in alignment with who you want to become. 4. To choose is to commit. For Sartre, freedom is not light or casual, it is binding. Every choice declares a direction, a value, a commitment. You cannot choose a little, choosing always means rejecting something else. That is why freedom feels risky, to decide is to close doors. Sartre teaches us that commitment is what gives our life shape. Without commitment, freedom dissolves into chaos and indecision. We become wanderers, not creators. But once we commit, our choices gain meaning and our lives gain structure. Commitment is not imprisonment, it is the architecture of a purposeful life. 5. We are our own freedom. Sartre's philosophy is radical, Freedom is not granted by society, God, or fate, it is generated from within. This means no one can take your freedom unless you surrender it. You are the source of your choices, your meaning, your direction. It is a reminder that freedom is internal before it is external. Many live in psychological prisons built from fear, expectation, and self-doubt, even when the door is unlocked. True liberation begins when we dismantle those inner barriers. Sartre calls us to recognize that our freedom is not something we receive, it is something we embody. 6. A man can be free only if he takes responsibility for his own actions. Responsibility is the price of freedom, and most people prefer the illusion of being controlled over the reality of being responsible. Sartre highlights that without responsibility, freedom becomes meaningless. Owning your actions, your mistakes, and your consequences is what allows you to act with integrity. Responsibility is not punishment, it is empowerment. It gives you authority over your life instead of handing it to fate, parents, society, or circumstance. The moment you take responsibility is the moment freedom becomes real. Without it, freedom is just a theory. 7. There is no reality except in action. Sartre reduces reality to the simplest truth: what you do is who you are. Dreams, intentions, and thoughts remain unreal until they manifest in action. Action transforms possibility into existence. It is the bridge between the world inside you and the world outside you. Many people wait for clarity before acting, but Sartre argues that action itself creates clarity. You learn who you are by doing, not by thinking. The life you want will not appear through imagination, it must be built through consistent, meaningful action. 8. Everything has been figured out, except how to live. This quote reflects Sartre's existential doubt: humanity has mastered science, technology, and systems, but struggles with the art of living. We know how to build machines, but not how to build meaning. We know how to reach the stars, but not how to find peace. Sartre reminds us that existence does not come with a manual. Living well is a personal quest that cannot be outsourced. It requires awareness, courage, experimentation, and reflection. In a world full of answers, perhaps the most important task is to learn how to live our own life, not someone else's. 9. Existence precedes essence. This is the foundation of existential philosophy. Sartre asserts that we are not born with a fixed purpose or identity. We exist first, and then we create ourselves through choices, actions, and commitments. Life is not about discovering who you were meant to be, it is about choosing who you will become. This view is both terrifying and empowering. Terrifying because nothing is predetermined. Empowering because everything is possible. Sartre grants us the ultimate creative power, the ability to sculpt our own essence through the way we live. 10. If you are lonely when you are alone, you are in bad company. Sartre offers a profound test of inner freedom: can you sit with yourself in peace? Loneliness in solitude reveals a fractured relationship with your own mind. Freedom requires self-acceptance, self-understanding, and self-companionship. When you dislike your own presence, you lose the foundation of independence. Sartre urges us to build a self we can live with, one that feels whole, honest, and aligned. When you become someone you enjoy being with, solitude becomes empowering instead of painful. Inner freedom begins with becoming a good companion to yourself. Sartre's philosophy invites us into a world where freedom is not soft, convenient, or easy. It is demanding, confronting, and transformative. It asks us to step out of passive living and take bold ownership of our existence. Freedom is not something we wait for, it is something we practice, choice by choice, moment by moment. When we embrace responsibility, action, and self-honesty, we become the architects of our own destiny. Sartre reminds us that life has no predetermined path, it becomes meaningful only when we choose with intention. Freedom is not found, it is created. And the more courage we bring to our choices, the more alive we become.